Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Break the Trauma Loop with the Laws of the Universe. Reprogram your subconscious and align with your divine identity. My name is Stephen Dynam, the founder and president of the Shift Network. And one of the things I love best about what I do is getting to interview real pioneers who are synthesizing different methods of growth and transformation into new and exciting possibilities. And we're going to get to explore with Dr. Erin Fall Haskell today. She's a doctor of divinity, a master of spiritual psychology coach, and the creator of the E4 method. And she's really bringing together some deep metaphysical principles and coaching principles into a very unique synthesis that we can apply to breaking the trauma loop that so many of us get stuck in. So, Dr. Erin, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Stephen. Super honored to be with you guys, your beautiful team, and honored to be in your movement here. Thanks.
Great. Well, we're excited to dive in. I also want to let everyone know right up front that Dr. Erin's going to be teaching a brand new course for Shift called Reprogram Your Reality with Universal Law. And we'll share more about that towards the end of the hour if you want to go further. So, Erin, I'd love to begin our time together with a little bit about your journey, particularly around breaking the trauma loop, since there's a lot that I'm sure you've been through on your path. But this idea of universal laws and principles, giving us guidance in how to shift out of some of the loops that we get stuck in.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to begin with just my journey towards this because maybe someone will relate at some level. So, my journey really began at the age of 22 when I had a full-term stillborn. And basically, I had given birth to his body and realized the next day in the mortician's house that my baby was gone, but his body was here, and realized that we're not these bodies. And I had really a revelation that sent me on a massive commitment to discovering who am I really and what are we up to here as spiritual beings. I'd come from quite a bit of trauma growing up. My mother was an alcoholic. My father had gone off and had another family. I was kind of like a latchkey kid. I was date raped in high school, bulimic from 17 to 20. And then I thought, like so many people, that I thought, oh, if I just got married, then all my problems will be solved. So I married somebody that I barely knew, and we got pregnant. And then that's when I had my full-term stillborn. And so in that, moment of revelation, I knew I had the revelation that I was a spiritual being, but I had no idea like how to really do the work and figure out what was really going on in the universe. So I went down like so many people. I did a lot of courses. I read a lot of books. I began to meditate. I did all that work, but I felt like something was missing. I began to have kind of some revelation, but something was kind of missing. And then 2006 came along, like so many of us, we watched the Secret documentary. We watched the Law of Attraction. We began to meditate and began to do manifestation. But again, something was kind of missing. I was beginning to like manifest stuff like more prosperity and abundance, but I felt really empty inside because I wasn't in alignment with my soul's purpose. And I wasn't manifesting in other areas. I still had a lot of codependency and a lot of dysfunction.
Mm.
So I was like, what is the deal? And so I began to dive down the journey of what was really happening was subconscious energetic blocks. And I think that the whole industry kind of knows that. But how do you actually shift it? How do you actually reprogram it? How do you deprogram it? What is the difference between just, trauma-informed work versus the actual healing of the work? And so that's what got me really obsessed. And that's what had me develop what now is called E4 method that got me award with 1,600 spiritual centers. And that's what got me obsessed with understanding how universal law and the advanced manifestation really works.
It's powerful history, and you've had to overcome a lot and also manifest a lot from that background. So let's talk a little bit about first subconscious blocks and how they get connected with trauma. So what happens when you have a traumatic experience and in terms of our subconscious realms, like what's happening underneath it ends up creating blocks that take
Sure.
a while to transform.
That's such a great question. I love to use an analogy of the magic lantern. And the magic lantern, we've all heard the story of, you go in and you're rubbing off this lantern, and all of a sudden this genie comes out, and the genie says, "Your wish is my command." And we hear it, we saw it in Disney, and we saw it even before that. It was this, famous story. And what we didn't realize is, or we were never told, that your wish is my command also goes in negative form. We think that we only have positive wishes, but it's actually the wish and the command that creates the subconscious programming. So let me go a little bit further here, okay? Trauma, we think of trauma as just a war or a car accident or something massive. Trauma, we need to redefine what that is from a spiritual perspective. Trauma is a tear in the soul. So, what does that mean? That means it's a division in mind. Okay. So, trauma is not what happens to you. From a traditional psychology, we look at what happened in your childhood and therefore this happened. From a spiritual psychology perspective, we're looking at what happened at a soul level, which means when did you decide your division? Something occurs or doesn't occur. Maybe you were, had an argument with a friend on the jungle gym as a kid and you got super upset. You had a lot of emotions, which is frequency and vibration, and you decided, you commanded something. Something's wrong with me. I'll never love again. No one cares about me. I'm not enough. And what happens? The genie says, your wish is my command. And that energetic goes and tags the epigenetics. And that's one with the Akashic records. And that identity and that command plays out like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your wish is my command.
I like that metaphor. And so it sounds like the heightened charge, emotional charge, is actually strengthens the command to the genie, if you will.
Exactly. Yeah, it is an actual epigenetic tag. And as you know, with epigenetics, what happens is the more tags you have, the more it strangulates your DNA, which means that you have less perception. You are more divided. So as we do the work and we release those tags and neutralize, the mental pictures of that incident, then we literally free our DNA and we literally expand consciousness into the oneness. And we have more and more of an enlightened experience day to day, not just when we're doing our meditation, but really having our birthright of liberation.
Let's dive a little deeper into that because there's kind of multiple levels of what you were sharing in terms of releasing the tags you were calling them. Maybe share a little bit about what you're, what how you perceive the layers of the patterns that need to release and how you approach that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're human, you have trauma, right? So I think the best way to think of it is really in a common sense, meaning where are you, and even for someone listening and watching in right now, where are you in your relationships? It's really easy to know when things are stuck patterns or the same cycles are happening over and over again versus, hey, I'm actually expanding in my love field. It's flowing, it's a flow state, it's evolving, it's transcending. So we can just even bring it to common, the heart of the matter. In our finances, we can take a look and go, are we creating from a stuck pattern, an old identity and scarcity, or are we in an all abundance, innovative stance? And so we can know where we're coming from because all division in mind, all limited beliefs come from a trauma, not from what traditional sense of trauma, but from a division in mind. So we know that identity creates the beliefs create the thoughts create the feelings, and the feelings create the circumstances of our life. So all trauma work, all reprogram the subconscious mind is actually identity work.
Hmm.
So how do we do that? We do that through many, many different ways, doing regressions, this lifetime, past lifetime, and time compressing. But we also do it through the power of word, declaring and making new commands that override the old commands.
hmm And so, how does that go deep enough? So, again, when you're making a new command to override the old commands, I mean, when there's a trauma that's like supercharged with emotion and it sort of like gets inked in a strong way, how are you creating a new pattern to overlay that?
Sure, it's a great question. It's actually one of the reasons why I created E4 method was because I was working in a spiritual center for 6 years. I saw a lot of people do amazing prayer, spiritual mind treatment, affirmative mind treatments, and I wasn't seeing a lot of movement. I was seeing some people, their life was really expanding, and a lot of people was just staying the same. And so I believe that the biggest thing people need to do is remove the blocks first. Those are the big traumas. Those are the regression work. That's the deeper work. But also, we can command and create new habits and new things with the power of word, with spiritual mind treatment, with tapping into what we're going to tap in today a bit, which is the 0 point field. The truth is that everyone talks about the subconscious as I need to reprogram it. Something's wrong. We need to deprogram. But what people rarely talk about is the power. That genie is the super consciousness. That genie that is the truth of what is really at the power of who you are, at the center of every cell and molecule, is the force, the source, the divine, God source within, your true identity. And that is an all-powerful, all-knowing substance that we can tap into at any point in time, but we need to learn how to get there into that 0 point field. And even now, science, we know that this is the 0 point field is a real thing. We are entangled. We are one. We are unified. So we have to learn how to harness that. It's like driving the vehicle or jumping on that, racehorse. You'll get really hurt and you won't know how to do it. But if you learn how to take command of that, you know, it's infinity. It's infinite of what you can create in your life.
So the 0 point field and superconscious, they're sort of identical, or it's more like we enter superconsciousness to access the 0 point field?
It's one thing. So it's 0 point. If you look at every single cell, I love this so much. Okay. I'm obsessed with this because when I came into the industry, if you will, the concept was the creative process was God's source of consciousness is above, and we are projecting it into the subconscious or the universal law, and that projects out into our field. It means spirit, soul, and body. This is the triune nature of real manifesting. But the truth is, it's not above, it's within.
Mhm.
So in the center of every cell and molecule is what we call 0 point field. You can call it God source. There's no polarity there. There's just infinite potential there. And as soon as the consciousness considers itself not to be the I am or not God, it sets the polarity of the universe into motion. And this is the higher vibration and frequency is actually at the center of this torus field, is what is actually it is for the cell and molecule. So what does that mean exactly? That means when we're frazzled in our day-to-day and we're in 3D and we're scrolling through social media, we're way out here, we're in real density. So in order to get to that 0 point field, we need to do some theta breath work and HRV and meditation and get into that 0 point field and tap in, tune in, turn on, and be able to activate it through the power of word once we're in there.
So that's a little bit about how we get into that field. So it sounded like before you were saying that working at the level of identity is more effective than some of the downstream impacts.
Mhm. Identity comes down to regression work also. So E4 method is a process where we do current life regressions, past life regressions, and we flip it into quantum manifesting. And this goes like this. The same thing that created your division is the meaning that you put on things, the false commands, and the negative emotions. So when we're neutralizing all the past regressions and all the past traumas, we're taking off the charge, we're neutralizing it, we're spotting the false commands and identity, and we're actually being able to make ourselves restore freedom of choice and free will.
Mhm.
So it's imperative to do that work, to be able to free the consciousness so that when we come in, we're coming with a clear, pure soul and pure consciousness. So we're not battling our own limitations and our energetic stuck there
Mhm.
between us and the divine.
Mhm. So if we if people are trying to just focus on the level of shifting their thoughts or the beliefs underneath, and they're not getting all the way identity level, then it's going to what?
It's kind of like having a ball, right? You take a ball and you put it down in the water and you think, okay, I'm gonna stay positive. And as soon as you let go of that ball, it's gonna bounce up, right? It's the same with if we plant a seed in the soil. So if we plant a seed of I want to manifest something or I want to have better relationships or more money or whatever it may be, and we plant that seed in the soil is the subconscious. But if if the soil has a bunch of weeds and limited belief, what happens with the seed? The weeds come and it kills off, it literally strangulates the seed. It won't let it grow. So that's the same thing we're doing with that. Okay. Same thing with the water spout. If you have a water faucet and you have water come out, sometimes it just starts dripping out. So what do we have to do? We have to screw off that little filter. We've got to clean out the little granules and little sand and then put it back on and then the water flows. So that's what we're doing in soul clearing work is we're clearing out all that stuck energetic, stuck emotions and really false identity and limited beliefs from that. And then we're able to flow more. Our natural state is abundance. Our natural state is innovation. Our natural state is loving and giving. Our natural state is joyous. But we've just We were born of sin, as they say. We were born of trauma.
So let's ground this in the sort of a specific example of somebody that they've got have a trauma that they had an abusive father growing up or something. So how might the feelings, emotions, and beliefs around that, how much you work through this in this kind of E4 comprehensive way?
Sure. So someone like that, very typical. So say that they had trauma from their father was abusive. It doesn't matter what happened with their father. What matters actually is that the decision they made in the middle of a traumatic incident, what their command was. So let's just pretend that their command was all love hurts, okay? Or I'm not lovable, okay? And then what happens is that projects out and reflects back in all of their intimate relationships. So no matter who comes along, it could be the greatest guy could come along the world. And that person, whether it be a man or a woman, it doesn't matter which sex, obviously. And they're all of a sudden, no matter what they do, they're looking through the filter and the identity of I'm not lovable. So either they'll sabotage that relationship or they'll find a way to push that person away because they're looking and feeling through that identity. And you can do it. You can see it all the time. You can feel it when you're around people. I literally can hear their commands. You're around somebody and you're like, I don't care what happens. There's somebody you know that always, no matter what, they're always struggling with money. No matter what happens, the characters change, but the theme stays the same. Same with the command around love, right? No matter who comes in their life, it doesn't matter what the story is, their theme stays the same. So commands and their identity is the core work because they think, oh, if I just get a better partner, oh, if I just move to a different city, maybe if I stop going on that app versus that app, maybe if I get skinnier, then they'll love me. None of that's going to change. It all comes down to the identity and the projecting out and reflecting back of that same theme called insanity. It's over and over again. Different characters, same thing, same destiny.
Now, when you say that you can hear, literally hear, are you just interpreting what their
Just because
description,
I've
their
been working
narrative?
with people, just because I've been working with people for so long. And like once you start doing this work, because obviously I train a lot of people in the work, you literally you're around somebody and you literally can feel their commands. You can literally hear them. You can feel them because you just feel it projecting from them.
Now, is that part of how you're getting the confirmation of those
No,
in the world of?
I never tell anybody their commands. It's out of
Well, I
ethics,
was more like when I was talking about the person, if they're kind of getting the confirmation that no, unlovable, is that they're actually sort of broadcasting out and
for sure.
having people mirror that.
1,000%. And literally, you can just begin to spot it with your friends and you can see the theme. You know, I have a friend, no matter what happens, his life is always chaotic. Doesn't matter if he has a ton of money, if people are around, not, there's always chaos. And no matter what happens, there's a commitment to the chaos, right? So it's a theme and it's a projecting out of his identity, right? So you can look at all your friends and family, and even, it's like, unless you're some enlightened master, we've all still have a little bit of imprinting in our light bodies, in our subconscious mind, and it's our karma. And we're here. Sometimes we can completely rid and neutralize it, but sometimes we got to work with that imprinting in our
Mhm.
lifetime. Mhm.
So continuing the example of somebody who doesn't feel lovable because of would you go into this lifetime, the next life, maybe take through some of the layers that you would go back through in order to kind of get
Sure.
more.
Well, their consciousness would guide, right? Their consciousness would guide for what's there. The consciousness always will, we never guide it ourselves. We ask the subconscious mind, and in the subconscious mind, things come up and we know exactly what's going on. We go into a regression. They take themselves into the regression. But what's most important is for them to understand first to spot and know how they're creating, which is through universal law. And when they understand how they made the decision. They made the negative command and how that's playing out on automation and how they can begin to spot it and take responsibility around it and then aligning to what their truth is. There's relative truth, there's ultimate truth, like energy cannot be destroyed, and there's relative truth. And for what one person desires in relationship, one person desires in their money or in their vitality, it's going to be different for each individual. So birthing their truth is some of the big things to do out of universal law, birthing their soul's purpose, really taking responsibility around their false identity and knowing that they can reprogram it if they choose to, and being able to understand their truth when it comes to money and career, relationships and love, their health and vitality, emotional mastery, understanding that all emotions are here to tell us what our truth is. So anytime they're dealing with emotions, it's telling them what their truth is and to align with that.
I'd love for you to share a little bit more about universal law. Sometimes, like we have a sense it's like more like rules that are imposed from the outside or something when we talk about law. Like, but it's a little maybe share a little bit about your understanding what universal law really is.
Sure. Yeah, universal laws are the axioms. They're the mechanics of manifestation. It's how we create, the creative process. So universal law is how you create, which means that it's your true identity, which is the I am. Consciousness is source, spirit, if you will. And then it is goes through the subconscious mind, the filter of life, and then it projects out into life and reflects back. So universal law is the mechanics of all of it. So what do we have to figure out if we're putting into the seed into the soil, right? If we're planting the seed, say, hey, I want to have a healthy relationship. But in that soil is the subconscious mind, and the belief is I'm not lovable. Then no matter what you put into that soil, the soil is going to project out into that. So understand universal law, you can either create abundance or you can invert it and create an abundance of scarcity. You can create, love or hate. You can create divinity or division. You can create coherence or discordance, right? So universal law is really teaching us how we're manifesting, how we're creating. And yes, trauma is the biggest thing, the big boulders. But then we also have to take a look at what are we energizing? And so many people right now are energizing what they don't want in life, what's wrong with people, right? They energize everything they don't want instead of what they do want. So universal law is a great way for us to remind ourselves that every single thing that we focus on is creating. The universe, we're creating 24/7 without any words whatsoever by our frequency, by our vibration, by our identity.
Hmm. Great insights and really clearly shared. I think now would be a great time to do the experiential that you have planned, that we can really start to work with some aspects of how we are manifesting in ways that don't align with our full vision yet.
Okay, great. What I'm going to invite people to do is I'm going to take you a little bit through what is an HRV, heart rate variability, or theta wave breathing. Okay. And you don't need an audio for this. This is the most beautiful thing is that anytime you are wanting to tap into source or release some anxiety, get more grounded, what I recommend doing is you're going to take some deep breaths in and out as slow as possible, as deep as possible. And what I want you to do is on the inhale, I'd like you to fully, fully expand the lungs and the diaphragm all the way till you can't breathe anymore. And then exhaling out as slow as possible, as deep as possible. Breathing in and out as slow as possible, as deep as possible. And what this is doing is it's resetting the nervous system and it's bringing the heart and head into unity. And it is also slowing down the brain waves into a semi-theta state, which means that it is aligning with the subconscious mind. So breathing in and out as slow as possible, as deep as possible. What I invite us to do is to take a little bit of inventory right now. I'd like you to get real and vulnerable with yourself for a moment and ask yourself, in the realm of relationships and love, who are you being and what is your life reflecting versus what if you have the magic wand in your hand, imagining that you have a magic wand in your hand right now, what would you create for yourself without justifying why it doesn't matter or why you don't need that, but rather you have a magic wand. And what would that look like? Now, keep breathing as slow as possible, as deep as possible. And let's begin to go to the second area of your life, which is career and money. And again, taking inventory, getting a little vulnerable and thinking to yourself a reality of where are you? What's the reality of your career and money? It doesn't matter if you don't have a career because your family might be your career or whatever that is for you. And then again, I want you to imagine that you have a magic wand in your hand. And what would you like to create in the realm of money and career? Just breathing in and out, no consideration. That's too hard or that's a lot of effort or anything, just the magic wand. What would you mock up for yourself if anything and everything was possible? And then breathing in and out as slow as possible, as deep as possible. Going to your health and vitality, which most importantly is emotions and your energetics. So getting real with yourself for a moment. Where are you with your emotions day to day? Where are you with your vitality and your inspiration? Taking that inventory and getting real with yourself, and then placing that magic wand in your hand and asking yourself, where do you really want to be? Energetically, vitality, energetics, emotions, the real health, the mental health that projects into the physical health. And then lastly, taking a deep breath in as slow as possible, as deeply as possible. Coming into your soul's mission, your soul's calling, asking yourself right here, right now, where are you in fulfilling upon your soul's mission, your soul's calling and purpose? And then again, placing that magic wand in your hand and just playing for a moment. If anything and everything is possible, what would you like to create? And so as we take a breath together, I'm just going to take us into a spiritual mind treatment. You can put your hands together or not. There's about 70,000 nerve endings on the hands, placing them on the heart to connect the heart and head, taking a deep breath in. And just recognizing the power of word. I call forth all consciousness here, knowing the one divine mind. And I recognize there's one source, one force, one all-knowing divine essence, the presence. I recognize it is that which has created the miracles and blessings and abundance and that which creates the heartache and the suffering. There's only one source. I recognize that this use of this one source can be in alignment or out of alignment. I know it's all creation and the perfection and growth of all creation. But what I know right now is that the truth of who I am is the identity of the I am. And I know this for each and every one listening, watching the replay in all consciousness across the globe. And I know this time in history, this prophetic time in history, this movement, Shift Network. I say yes to this. I say yes to this profound awakening, the shift in consciousness. And I declare right now that magic wand is remembered, is awakened, is known right here in mind. To remember that you're here to be the greatest of the great, the most unique divine expression, you. And I'm knowing great prosperity, great vitality, beautiful, thriving relationships, and most importantly, soul's mission fulfilled, soul's purpose, and fully expressed, fully healed, and absolutely in the divine presence. I release, as my word is law, as together we say, and so it is. And so it is. Thank you.
So it is powerful when you ramp up the declarative power moving through. You got the preacher minister kind of whoosh coming in. Maybe share a little bit about why animating with that level of clarity and conviction is important.
Yeah, it's the movement of energy upon universal law. That is prayer. Real prayer is the movement of energy upon universal law, or AKA the subconscious mind, for a specific demonstration. That's the power of word. My word creates. And
Hmm.
so that's part of my commitment with this, is to help people understand that everything we focus on, everything that we energize, every word, everything is creative. And we have to become responsible in the world for our energetics, our emotions, and the world that we all want to create together.
Beautiful, very powerful.
Mm.
Well, that was a great demonstration and a practice. What happens when you want to sort of go into more you kind of did the broad overview of a lot of areas, but then do you then spend more time getting really specific in each area around
Yeah, there's
project?
three things that can happen with prayer. Okay, it's very specific. When a prayer is done, it's done. You come in with, say, an issue you want to deal with, a problem per se, something you want to overcome, and either one, it doesn't even perceive as a problem anymore, or two, you have a new perception of how it could be handled, new insight around it, or number three, you create a miracle, and whatever it is that you're wanting to manifest or shift happens instantaneously.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Well, one thing we said in the copy describing today is using your emotions as a compass. I'd love to go into a little bit of that because more we've been focusing on the identity level, the declarative level, consciousness creating outwards. How can emotions become more of a compass for us?
Sure. So I don't know about you, but or anyone watching in today, but I have always been what I consider sensitive. My emotions have been so intense my entire life. As a woman, the moon comes up, I'm emotional. Someone says something, I'm emotional. I feel everything. I feel the collective. My emotions have been like something that I've had to manage my entire life. And so as I began to go more and more into this work and having the revelation of what emotions are your higher self directing you towards your relative truth. So, for example, let's pretend that I get upset. Someone says something or they text me and I get upset, right? Those emotions, where before I would have ran from those emotions, I wouldn't want to even experience those emotions. I would make the emotions wrong or the other person wrong. Instead, what we do is we use the emotions instead of being used by the emotions. And we begin to transmute the emotions. The emotions are coming through to say, this is not my truth. This is my truth, right? So say, hey, I don't like the way someone talked to me. It's because I know that that's not my truth. And that's teaching me of what the environments that I want to put myself into and who I want to be when it comes to how I speak to people, right? So every emotion is guiding. It's guiding. And when you learn how to harness emotions and realize this is my higher self coming through my soul to guide me. And when you don't resist it, you get wisdom. So obviously emotions are energy in motion. And when we use it and we totally be with it, it transcends into wisdom. Same with trauma. Emotions minus trauma equals wisdom.
Mhm.
So we're always using the emotion. The emotion is the blessing because there's intelligence in that emotion.
So, what happens when the emotions are being triggered by the trauma, though? How do you work with the emotions that are still tethered to an unresolved trauma?
Sure, that's part of the E4 method of really getting in there and neutralizing and being with the emotion, because the emotion is going to neutralize and it's going to bring new wisdom and an evolution in the consciousness. So again, we don't want to ever be afraid or suppress emotions. We want to fully experience the emotions and allow the wisdom to come through from the emotions.
So that makes a lot of sense. Well, yeah. So I'd love to just I've asked a lot of questions and you've been great at answering them. Just anything that you were wanting to bring forward here today that we haven't gotten to cover yet that feels important.
Sure, I would just say, I know that your community is very evolved. And I just want to acknowledge everyone. Anyone that comes into my universe also, most people have really decided they want to be masters in this lifetime. And I know that there's probably so many masters here. And I just acknowledge everyone for all the work they've done. And hopefully I can bring people really just some some massive wisdom. I've been on this journey for 30 years. I was 22 when I had my stillborn. That was 30 years ago. I now do have a 30-year-old son and a grandson. And as they say, knock and the door shall open, seek and you shall find. And there are definitely truths of the universe. And the universal laws, we have 52 distinctions with that, and just understanding how the subconscious mind is working with the super consciousness, along with understanding trauma and how it really works at a soul level with the epigenetics and DNA and Akashic records, that there's just a lot of truth. And I hope to bring a lot of wisdom for everyone.
That's great. Well, I think now would be a great time to talk more explicitly about your upcoming course, since it's a really unique opportunity to dive deep into all these universal laws and steps of your protocols to really get into full alignment with your deeper soul's code. So let's talk about that. So the program that Dr. Erin has agreed to teach is called Reprogram Your Reality with Universal Law, a powerful process for clearing subconscious blocks and aligning with spiritual truth to manifest abundance, love, and purpose. You can find it at the URL reprogramyourreality.com, reprogramyourreality.com. It's a 7-module, 8-week program. There's no prerequisites, so it's just if you feel intuitively drawn to explore deeper. So, Dr. Erin, I'd love for you to share a little bit about some of your intentions for what people will come away with, and then we can go through the modules and give a tour of what you're going to be.
Sure. The intention is for people to really feel empowered, for them to understand 1,000% that everything is created, that they're really empowered in their ability to heal their past, empower the present, and be able to manifest their future self, for them to really understand that process of the advanced teachings of universal law for that. Along with, we'll be going into how do you actually deprogram? How do you reprogram? What does that actually look like? And then going into the 4 areas of life, from everything from I want them to walk away being empowered in their relationships and love, in their money and career, in their emotions and energetics, and in understanding how to really birth their soul's purpose.
Fantastic. Module 1 is then called Discover How Universal Law Offers an Invisible Blueprint for Creating Your Most Aligned and Fulfilled Life.
We're going to go into some advanced teaching. I think there's a lot of manifestation out there, which is wonderful, but we're going to go into the real deep dive into the creative process around how the triune nature of every identity, your ancestral trauma, how everything and how it is in the subconscious mind, and how that actually is projecting and reflecting in your life.
Module 2, Rewire Unhelpful Subconscious Programming and Create Space for Your Divine Potential to Flourish.
Yep. And in that, we're going to be going into how to actually go into the regressions and for current and past life and future time compressing, along with how to actually take that into the power of your word through spiritual mind treatment and prayer and some different processes to get you into theta brain states and getting your heart rate variability intact so that you can tap into that divine force within.
Module 3, Attune to your soul's truth and become magnetic to your true potential and purpose.
Yeah, this one's going to be fun. We're actually going to teach the formula of how to birth your soul's purpose and what that looks like. I work with a lot of people that are wanting to turn this into a career, their love for this deep work. And each person has a specific soul's assignment and therefore a soul's purpose.
Module 4, Activate the Law of Compensation to invite prosperity in, inspire a money breakthrough, and align with your greater purpose.
Yes, I'm going to talk about the universal law and metaphysics of how to have a breakthrough in money and prosperity and abundance, giving some massive distinctions of huge shifts so that you can walk away really empowered to know your birthright of prosperity.
Module 5, Create fulfilling, harmonious, and inspired relationships by aligning with your true essence.
Yeah, I was very codependent for many years. So we're going to do some massive breakthrough work of understanding the metaphysics and universal law around relationships so that you never have to make anyone wrong anymore and that you really can live in alignment with your truth and be empowered and love everybody unconditionally, but stay in your divine power.
Module 6, Embody truth on all levels of being to experience emotional and energetic vitality and well-being as your baseline.
Yes, this is a big one for me, huge, is mastering emotions. So, we're going to dive into deep emotions, how emotions are created, how to actually transmute them, and how to get that wisdom off of them. So, you're no longer afraid of your emotions, but rather you can use them to get to the next leap in your quantum leap.
Module 7, create a daily spiritual practice that integrates universal law and keeps you aligned with your highest self.
Yeah, we're going to dive into some different processes, some deeper processes, again, to tap into that source, using it every single day to align to your specific truth in those different areas of your life and to be able to harness that source within to have quantum leaps over and over again.
Well, it's clear you've mapped this out so precisely and have a lot of great insights and practices to help people do this deep reprogramming. So again, the whole program is at reprogramyourreality.com, and there's more detail on each of those modules. And I'll share a little bit more about it. So you not only get the 7 90-minute live sessions that Dr. Erin has just described, which includes time to ask your questions live and get those answered. You'll have recordings of every session, both video and audio, as well as word-for-word transcripts to work with, study, and highlight. There's weekly practices for home. There's a community group to support you and deepen your experience. And on the page, you'll also see a number of extra bonuses. There's a whole PDF book to empower spiritual awakening called Awakening, a 40-day guide with 40 worksheets and 40 meditations. You want to share more about that, Erin?
Yeah, well, we were talking about that a lot. The 40 days is a really big spiritual practice. So there's some massive distinctions that we're going to go into that you can use for the rest of your life to be able to use meditations and worksheets and be able to have all the distinctions really in your pocket for you to be empowered in all those different areas, walking you through really what we're going to be going through in the program as well.
It's a great bonus. And then there's another bonus, which is a whole PDF book with worksheets called Spiritual Awakening, a year of universal law with 52 journaling worksheets. This is actually our special bonus that you get if you sign up by midnight tonight Pacific time. So Erin, you want to share more about that?
Sure. There's one universal law. It's the law of cause and effect, or the law of oneness, whatever you call it. But there's 52 distinctions that I put together for people to really understand how to harness it in all dynamics of their life. So with that one, you'll have journaling worksheets and weekly lessons to be able to keep it in consciousness beyond our 7 weeks together. So you can constantly be able to always implement universal law into your daily life.
That's a great extra reason to sign up right away to get the Spiritual Awakening, a year of universal law with 52 journaling worksheets. Well, it's clearly going to be such a profound program, going right to the depth of all the patterning that we have to really shift our identities, open to our higher manifestation abilities in a way that's aligned with our soul's purpose and truth. So we've kept the investment for the course really accessible. It's just 3 payments of $128, so you can save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to start October 30th and run Thursdays at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings, the transcripts, and the community as well. There's some beautiful testimonials on the page about the power of Dr. Erin's teachings and her presence and the wisdom that flows through her. So you're in really good hands, and you're building on 30 years of deep exploration and development. And so you're really going to get to harvest the benefit of all that work for the benefit of your path. So Dr. Erin, this has been a fantastic hour, and anything that you still want to share with folks who are considering doing the full course with you?
Just that I have the full commitment. My commitment is for full revelation. We're really in an incredible time in history where we have truths and wisdom on this planet that, uh, it's your birthright to have full liberation and full enlightenment. So really excited to dive deep with everyone.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Dr. Erin, for such a profound and precise wisdom transmission today, and the depth of what you've been guiding here. So thank you so much, and thank you all for joining. And we look forward to seeing many of you in Dr. Erin's course, which again is to be found at reprogramyourreality.com. And the name of the course is Reprogram Your Reality with Universal Law, a powerful process for clearing subconscious blocks and aligning with spiritual truth to manifest abundance, love, and purpose.
Thanks,
So thank
Stephen.
you
Really
so much,
appreciate
everyone.
it.